Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a flip through for you today. This is actually the project that I did in December for Dephemerember that was hosted by Louisa Heinzel and Barbara at 49 Dragonflies. It was like 25 days making ephemera in December. This was the second year that they hosted it, and I do have a video showing how I created the journal to basically become the holder for all of the ephemera that I made, but I didn't end up doing any videos on the ephemera that I did at all. So I just thought I would do a little flip through just to kind of show you. I had some comments about seeing what it looked like when it was all done. So again, this is the journal. I just used some fabric here to create a little closure on it, since it's kind of, you can see it's a little bit chunky, and I just slid that through the binding here on the side to kind of hold it in place. And I'll go through and kind of give you the prompts. There's a few days that I did not do. Either I just wasn't feeling inspired to do that, or I didn't have time that day, or whatever. And then there are some that I just kind of, interpreted my way. So they did have like a free printable that had, some animal cards and stuff on it that you could use along with the prompts. I did not use those. I just used the prompts. So I created this kind of junk journal style and tried to keep everything pretty neutral for some upcoming journals and stuff that I'm making. So all that to say, you're going to just start flipping through here. So December 1st, the first was, the prompts were fluff and mason jar. And so I had this mason jar stamp, and I just cut that out and made some little journaling spots. And then for my fluff, I just used some twine on here, and I just have some lined paper and some coffee dyed paper on the back of those, so I can use those in journals as little tuck spots. For day 2 was splatters and playing cards. So I have some, these are some vintage playing cards that I got in my subscription from a house of books, and I wanted to keep this side. I just thought that was really pretty, and so I just did kind of some collaging, just real like kind of a in a masterboard kind of way. And then I have some splatters, some ink splatters on there. So that is what I did for day 2, and then I just created this little envelope to hold them. For day 3, the prompt was bright color and journaling card. And I think I mentioned in my other video, I'm trying to do all neutral type ephemera for this month. That was my project, or my intention was to do everything really neutral so that I could use it in a variety of different ways. So I didn't really want to do a bright color necessarily. So what I did is, I do have some that just, they have a little bit of color on them, but they're not what I would consider bright colors. I still tried to keep it kind of muted and in neutrals, basically. So I just have some journaling cards here, and then I have some coffee dyed paper on the back to use for writing space. And I just created a little tuck spot here for that with some ribbon. And then day 4 was recycled art and coin envelope. So I created these coin envelopes, and I just have them tucked in here. This is a Tim Holtz die with just, these are some deli prints, and then some of these are from an artist almanac that I had from last year. And then I just collaged all of that on these little coin envelopes, and these will be fun to use in some journals as well. Just tuck that in there really quick. Day 5 was number or sentiment and ticket. So I created, this year I created just some tickets, and I stamped on them with some number stamps. These are some Tim Holtz stamps. Added a little bit of just some mixed media techniques, and I have some rub-ons on here as well. These were the ones that I made this year, but since I was making this kind of ephemera holder, I actually went ahead and tucked in some that I had made that I didn't use last year. These were some tickets that I had made as part of Dephemerember from the year before, and so I just tucked those in there as well, so they would kind of all be together. I had made a bunch of these when I did that, so I still have a few of those. Day 6 was feathers and bingo card, and I actually kind of approached this a few different ways. So I had these little ephemera pieces that were like a bingo card. And so I just created a couple little clusters here to put on a page. And then with the feather, I was using these birds. So then I have those same bingo cards in a bigger size. And again, just a couple clusters to add for some interest. And then I had a couple bigger bingo cards that I went ahead and just used a feather die cut and cut out a few of those. So I kind of have a variety of things that I can use from this particular prompt on this day. That was day 6. Day 7 was a handwritten memory and loaded tag. And so for most of these days, I try to do multiple ephemera pieces so that I can, use them, on different projects. But some of them I only did one. So for this day, I only did this one tag. And what I actually did is I have the handwritten memory in the background of this, and then I painted over it. And so I was kind of working through some things, and so it's just kind of a fun way to do that. So I wrote out the memory on this tag, and then I just went ahead and collaged over it and had some paint, did some mixed media techniques on there. So I have this one side here, and then on the back side I created a little pocket that's going to have a spot for this journaling card, so that when I use it in a journal I can actually have room to write or whatever. I'm going to stick that back in there. Day 8, this is one that I did not do. And I just went ahead and left the page blank in my journal. That way, if I do decide to come back and do it at some point, I can. I don't know that I will, but just in case I wanted to leave myself the room. The prompt for that day was beads and postage stamp dangle. I just wasn't feeling that one, so I skipped that one. Day 9 was collage fodder and junk mail. And so I basically used things that were kind of just around my desk and created a bunch of different things. I had some pieces of mail and some envelopes and different things. And so I basically just kind of, I did a collage masterboard with all of it. And then I put some paper on the back so that I could use these as journaling spots. So I have just several different sizes of things. This was one of the offcuts, and I just saved it because I thought it could go in like a cluster or whatever, but I'm just saving it with all of these things. So you can see I just have some different sizes of things. Then I just went through and did this, and I created a collage masterboard and did all that. And then this one is just a print from a jelly plate. So I have all of those in here, varying sizes and shapes. So I just feel like those will be good. And all the backs are just with some paper that I can use for journaling spots. So that was a lot of my kind of focus this month, was creating pieces for some junk journals that I'm doing. So tuck that in there. Day 10 was leaves and envelope. And so what I created for this day is I actually created these little envelopes with my We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. And then I took this is a Tim Holtz die, and I did the negative space basically. So I have the actual leaves. Actually I have one sitting right here. So that I cut out from here, and then I just backed this with different paper just to give it some interest. You can see the paper there, and then I did the same thing on this one. I just created a couple of those. Those are good little tuck spots for journals and things like that. Day 11 was a handmade stamp and a jumbo tag. So I have this ginormous tag, and I collaged some paper on the background, some tissue, and then I stamped with a handmade stamp. What I used for the handmade stamp was actually this Simon Hurley, I think it's stamping foam. And so you kind of heat it up and you make an impression, and then you kind of create a stamp. And so I created this, and I used this as my handmade stamp. And you can see I have another texture here on the back. The cool thing about this is that you can reheat this and it will go flat, and then you can do another impression of something else. So you can actually reuse these multiple times. So that's a lot of fun. It's Simon Hurley's stamping foam. I got mine from By the Well for God. I believe they still have it in stock, but I'm not for sure. But I will put my affiliate link down below. But this is just how my tag came. And I just used some, I stamped in Distress Oxide, and then I used some Distress Oxide or Distress embossing glaze over the top of that. And then I just left this part blank on the back for now. And I just have that clipped in here because it's kind of a little bit too tall for my book. Day 12 was lace and postcard. So I have a couple vintage postcards that I pulled out from my stash. This is from my subscription to A House of Books. And you can see on the back of this one actually has the writing from the original sender, which I think is so cool. And I just added a little bit of lace here to kind of cover up this sentiment right here, but then I can always use this as a little tuck spot as well. And then this one is, I just added the lace across the bottom, but it's blank, so I could use this as a journaling card in a journal. I'll just stick that there. Day 13 was one that I skipped as well. This was acetate and banner. I can't remember why I skipped this day. I know I don't do a lot with acetates or banners really, so I wasn't feeling particularly inspired, and then I just kind of never came back to it. So I may at some point just challenge myself to do that, but I'm not sure if I will. But day 14 was pattern and matchbook, and so I created these little matchbooks. I don't really know that I fulfilled this one completely because I didn't do anything with like a pattern in it. Although, I mean, I'm using pattern paper here, but that's kind of a stretch. This is some By the Well for God paper actually that I had left over. And I just created these little matchbooks in varying sizes. So inside this one, I have some vellum pieces. I thought this would be fun to tuck in a journal to kind of have so that you could use those little vellum pieces in the journal. And then in this one, I have a few tickets that are tucked in there. And then this one here, I have just some little journaling tuck spots that you can, pull these out and use them in a journal to create some writing space. And then I just have these in here with an envelope tucked in there. Day 15 was metal and photo, and I kind of kept this one really simple. I have these two photos that I just love. Again, this is from my subscription to A House of Books. These are some vintage photos that I got in my subscription, and I just loved them. And so these are two of my favorite pictures I think that I've gotten so far. And so instead of using like actual metal, what I did is I used the Tim Holtz foundry wax around the edges. These edges were already like deckled, and so it just made this this edge look really neat. So I did a mix of colors here on this one. I think I did statue and what's the other one called? Mind. And then I used just the silver on the other one. But I just love these photographs. They're two of my favorites, like I said, that I think I have ever gotten from A House of Books. So I wanted to do something special with those. I'm going to tuck those in here. And then day 16, I was a little bit confused about this one. It was packaging and an index card booklet. You can interpret that, I guess, however however you want to. I was struggling with this one a little bit. So I did use some packaging. This little holder here is some packaging. I don't even remember what it was now, but it's the kind that kind of has the flip up. So I just used that to create this pocket here. And then I put some pattern paper on the back and back here. And then these are some index cards that I have used in the past to like mop up ink and that kind of stuff. And they're just a good way to kind of start. I just have these tucked in here because it was all I could really think of, in terms of an index card booklet. But these kind of don't go along with my whole, wanting to keep everything neutral. So, that they're in there for now. I may switch that out for something else, but that was all I could really come up with in my brain for that day. Day 17, I also did not do this one. This was rust and bookmark. I had intended to do that one, and I think I just ran out of time. Day 18 was a handmade stencil and a notepad. So what I did is I created this little notepad for a journal, and just out of some different papers. I have some coffee dyed, some dot grid, another coffee dyed paper. Here's another one just lined, and then some more dot grid. And then on the back, I used some craft paper, and then I used a stencil on the back here with just some Dina Wakley paint. And so that is, and I only made one of those for day 18. Day 19, I did this one the prompt is fabric and page tab. I don't do a lot really with page tabs, but I wanted to try to do these kind of like side paperclip ones. So I just have some coffee dyed paper in the background and then a couple strips of fabric, and then I just sewed down the edge. And I only did 2 of these because, like I said, I don't really do a lot with page tabs, at least right now. I may in the future. These were actually a lot of fun to make, so I may revisit that as well. Day 20 was grunge and snippet strip. So what I did is I took some, this is that packaging tape like to ship, and it's like, it's got adhesive on the back and you get it wet and it becomes sticky. And so I just cut that down and to create my little strip, and it was actually longer than this, and then I just cut it down. But I just created a snippet roll, basically. I have some fabrics, I have some little scraps. These were just things that were kind of sitting around on my desk. Here's, this is a book, and kind of looks like this, like from the inside of a book. And I just put a little bit of that on there, and just some other little pieces of paper and different things. I thought that I would probably use these like as a tuck spot or part of a cluster or whatever. Snippet rolls are a lot of fun to make. You can make them out of fabric, you can make them out of paper, you can mix them. There's a lot you can actually do with snippet rolls, and then you can just use little sections of it if you want, or like you could use this whole thing as to create a tuck spot or whatever. So snippet rolls are fun, and they're just a fun way to create something. If you know, you're just kind of feeling like you want to be creative but you don't really know what you want to do, something like that, or even like collage master boards. Those are just a good way to get into creating something without kind of the pressure, I guess. Anyway, I'm losing my focus here. So day 21 was button and tea bag, and so I only created a couple on this day, and these tea bags were actually some that were from an old By the Well for God kit this past summer, I think. And then I created these little clusters with some pieces that were, these are some book spines, and then some vintage buttons. These vintage buttons came from my House of Books subscription as well. So I just created these little clusters, and then I thought these would be a good way to like tuck a little journaling spot or a tag or something in there. So these are ready to go to hold something like that. So that was day 21. 22 was water or envelope insert. This was another one that I kind of struggled with the prompt, but I had an idea in my mind of just something that I was wanting to try that day. So that's kind of the route that I decided to take with it. So I took these CD case, these are like those little paper CD covers, and I had these papers. These are some Tim Holtz back, what are they called? Backdrops, I think, papers. And I just cut them down to fit it because I thought they would work, but they kind of remind me of, not necessarily, excuse me, not necessarily of water, but the water, like the inking technique that you can do, you know, the marbling technique with water and inks. I cannot get this out. I think I glued it in. I'll have to work on that. But anyway, I did this so you could pull it out, and now I can't get it out. There we go. There we go. So I left that so that this could be a journaling spot or whatever, but this just reminded me of that marbling technique that was done with water. And so I just collaged around the outside here with some coffee dyed paper, and then I just left the back because I figured I would be gluing it down. And then I did this one as well, and this I just used Distress Oxide inks. This one I'm not as crazy about, and these may not be my favorite pieces of ephemera that I created, but they were just fun, and I just wanted to try that out to see how it would work. And so that's what I came up with. That was for day 22. Day 23 was another one that I skipped. That was flower and paper doll. I know that day was just, I just didn't have time to deal with anything on that day. It was right before Christmas. And then day 24 was coffee or tea and a specimen card. So I kept this one really, really simple. And this is the specimen die from Tim Holtz, and I had some coffee dyed cardstock, and I just cut out those, and I purposely left those really simple and really plain so that I can embellish these along the way when I'm using them in my journals. I tried to keep all of the ephemera that I created really sort of in the middle of, you know, having some of the decoration and fulfilling the prompt, but also I can go back and add to it to make it really cohesive with whatever journal that I'm creating, if that makes sense. So they're kind of in an in-between place, at least kind of in my mind. And then the last day was another day that I did not do, which was leather and ATC. So that was for day 25, but I also did not do that prompt. I just thought I would share those prompts with you in case you're interested. Of course, you can probably still access the prompt list if you're interested. You could certainly, you know, just use it to create your own ephemera, pick and choose if you wanted to. Even though this was a December daily kind of project, I am just now in January getting to do the flip through for you. So anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those down in the comments. And if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.